Hello Australia, welcome to the Raw Report. I am Ryan Jackson Saw. I want to ask a question. Why is Australia experiencing an energy crisis? We have been seeing increasing rolling blackouts across the states of New South Wales and South Australia over the past 20 years. Australia is one of the richest, if not the richest per capita producer of coal in the world. If we were 100% reliant on coal energy, we will power this nation cheaply and effectively for the next 1,000 years just on our supply alone. Not to mention the rich abundance of gas in this nation, which only a couple of years ago our politicians were calling the new gold rush. Why wouldn't our politicians and leaders follow the lead of some of the most powerful countries on earth, like our biggest trading partners in Asia, who are installing over 600 new coal-fired plants themselves in the next couple of years? What do they know that we don't know? Wouldn't you think a region of the world with over a third of the entire global population of human beings would have everything to lose in a climate emergency? I'll tell you what I think. I think that they have wised up to this green agenda, and they are forging ahead to preserve their own nation's interests at the behest of the United Nations and the World Economic Forum. Perhaps it's time that we do that as well. Australia only had a small handful of coal power stations in this country. But because they are such an effective source of electricity, we didn't need many to power our entire nation. And the entire infrastructure, it was cheap, it was easy, it was pre-built. Our forefathers had done the work. The few that we have had, they're shutting down. Like the Hazelwood Power Plant in Victoria in 2017, which saw a 20% increase in electricity prices that following year. Or the closure of the power plant in Port Augusta, which had operated for 31 years without a problem, leaving the state with rolling brownouts for years. The reason why is because apparently they say they love you. They love you and they want to protect you from global warming. Recently, they rebranded that to climate change. Because as we saw, the globe actually wasn't warming. It was going the opposite direction in many areas. So they've just rebranded it. And have you noticed in this country that our politicians always seem to need some sort of emergency or crisis to save us from? It used to be from the menace of the boat people. Remember the boat people? They made up about 1 to 2% of illegal immigration in Australia every year, but that was a thing to be afraid of. That was all the talking points that they had in the media. And when people were sick of hearing about that, it became all about the global financial crisis, 2017. Well, that didn't shape up to be very much either, did it? In fact, Australia, we came out near number one in the entire world as a performing economy, due to our big mineral exports and due to our manufacturing that we still had slightly intact back then. Then came COVID, and we know what happened to us then. And now it's climate change. Wouldn't it be refreshing for our government to start talking about how Australia is one of the best countries in the world to live in? Wouldn't it be nice if they told us that because we are one of the most mineral-rich nations on earth, we have such a high level of education, we have the ability to forge ahead as a nation, to create new innovations for the planet, with manufacturing and tech developments, to take advantage of this expansive land, the resources, the people that we have here, to actually create something amazing. You don't hear that kind of inspired talk from our politicians. Why do we have so many families who've been left homeless and unable to afford a home in a nation like this, in a situation like this, where we have the best basis to create a prosperous nation from? With the amount of mineral exports and the amount of mining that we do in this country, everyone should have a slice of that and everyone should be pretty damn wealthy. But we're not seeing that, are we? It isn't like we don't have everything we need right here to ensure a high standard of living for every man, woman and child in this country. We have a huge farming industry and exports, and a lot of the food that we're exporting, billions of tons of food, they're usually getting it way cheaper than we get it ourselves on the shelves. We have copper, we have iron, we have gold, oil, gas, uranium, phosphorus, tin, and basically everything else that you would need to create all the luxuries of modern living and to stimulate a massive manufacturing boom. But what's holding it back? Why isn't that happening? Why aren't we allowed to prosper anymore? At least they're telling us we're not allowed to be prosperous, that we've been bad. And we started expecting way too much as a people. We expected to be able to drive cheaply to work and earn a decent living. We expected to live in a house to be able to afford a mortgage on 1/3 of our incomes. We expected to afford a family and to raise our children and to make sure that they have enough to eat and a good schooling system, a good education, and they'll lead to a bright and happy future for them. But increasingly we're getting the message that we shouldn't expect these things, that they are bad. That they are bad because of climate change. But they have a solution, and they've been talking about this for 20 years now. And we're just starting to see it pop up in Melbourne. Pod living. Since we can no longer afford a home, land, families, we get to live in pods. So we can work every day and use public transport systems. We can produce as little carbon as possible. Why don't you have a look at this video?
Cost of living pressures are forcing some Melburnians to downsize to spaces smaller than a room. The high-tech sleeping pods are the latest answer to a rental squeeze as more July the 1st relief looms.
As Victoria's housing affordability crisis deepens, unique setups like these space shuttle pods are offering short-term solutions for renters desperately needing somewhere to sleep.
Now, how are you supposed to raise a family living like that? You're not. But it's what is coming for you, and for many young people now who don't have a choice. They're being forced through the cost of living, through the pressure of having your entire weekly wage going just to rent, if you live in an average home in Sydney or Melbourne, to be forced into these pods. But that's okay, because less people means less carbon dioxide, right? And that is why people are bad. Not only are people bad, they are dangerous, and climate change will make them even more dangerous, according to this government representative from the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade.
As we confront the climate crisis, women and girls' human rights must be at the centre of our collective efforts. Climate change and its consequences can exacerbate the risk of sexual and gender-based violence. This risk is most acute for women and girls facing multiple and intersecting forms of discrimination and inequality, including Indigenous women and girls.
So what are we supposed to make of all of this? How do we get out of this situation? Our governments have signed us away to the United Nations. They've committed us to the Kyoto Protocols and the Agenda 21. We have to put up with skyrocketing costs of living, electricity price rises, excessive borrowing to replace every single solar panel that would ever be built in Australia every single 10 years. Because solar panels don't last forever, and they're certainly not effective forever. So whatever electricity grid that we build based on that technology is going to be a constant replacing cycle. Constant rubbish, constant toxic chemicals being produced by the factories which are making these panels. In fact, they're estimating that it's going to cost us initially, $330 billion spent between now and 2030 just to keep the lights on, reworking this entire system. Guess where that money comes from? It comes from you and me, from our pockets. It doesn't come from them. They're just using our money. But at least people get to sleep well. They get to sleep well knowing that between the bug burger dinner and the cricket omelette for breakfast in your pod home, China is building more coal power stations. Corporations are getting rich selling them coal. But at least you've done your part while living in a nation that is already carbon negative to save the world from yourself and for the children you will not be able to afford to have. If you think I'm being dramatic, you need to read the documents that have been released by the International Monetary Fund. You need to read the documents released by the United Nations. What are they outlining with sustainable development in this country? They're telling us up front. If you go and listen to the World Economic Forum's public speeches recently at the World Government Summit, they'll tell you exactly what they plan for us. Why don't you do some reading? about that and share it with everyone that you know. Why don't we take a stand? Why don't we fight against these bastards? Because if we don't, that's the future we're going to have to accept. Thank you. This has been Ryan Jackson Saul with the Raw Report.